Hi, this is Dr. Landman here looking at the patient with cystic fibrosis, which is an autosomal recessive disease. Autosomal recessive means that both parents would have to be carriers or have the disease to pass it on to their kids, which is why there are so few people shaded in here. And we'll look at the key first. Uppercase T represents normal. Uppercase T, lowercase t represents carrier. Lowercase t represents disease. Circles are females, squares are males, and then here's some examples of what they could look like on the pedigree, and then some examples of Punnett squares that have been used to figure out some of these. We have uppercase T, homozygous mixes for both parents, 0% disease, 100% normal, homozygous dominant with a homozygous recessive, 100% carriers here. Down here, heterozygous for both parents, 25% normal, 25% disease, and 50% carrier. And then homozygous recessive, we would have 100% disease, no normal. And then with our first gen, second gen, third gen, and fourth gen of this family, our patient here is on the 4th generation. So when we're looking at this, since both of these parents they look normal, we know that they both have to be carriers in this situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw this half shade. I'll come back and shade some of these at the end a little bit more. I'll shade it like that so we can just visualize. Okay, so we have those shaded in now. So they're both carriers. So now when we come up to the parents, we look at them and we see that this is another disease here, and we'll go ahead and put the genotypes down here. So this genotype would be little t. This would be big T, little t. This would be big T, little t. And we know this one has a disease, so it would be little t. Disease over here, little t. And we got another little t. Okay, there we go for this. So now that we have all of these people diseased in, we're going to zoom in specifically on these two people. So now while we know this person is a carrier, this male is a carrier, and this female is diseased, we do not know about this male or this male, because technically based on this and these outcomes, we can jump over here and see that this is not the case. We do know that we can see that he could be a carrier, but he could be normal as well. So that's why we have to put that he is an uppercase T question mark, because he could be normal, and this could end up as a carrier, or he could be a carrier and there'd be a 25% chance to be a carrier and he'd still get it. It's the same over here, since we don't know 100%, there's no kids to show down here what he gave on to his kids. We are gonna have to put another T, uppercase T question mark. And so then we can hop up. We're gonna look at in the second gen, these 4 kids and their parents. So we know that they are both carriers because they had 2 kids with cystic fibrosis, and they both appear to be normal, but since they gave the gene forward, and we know now, I'll color this in, that they are carriers. Do the male over here. And we'll put their genotype. Their genotype is big T, little t, and big T, little t. It's the same situation here that we just had with these question marks. We are unsure as to what it could be because they could be normal, could be a carrier. We know they are not diseased, but we cannot 100% confidently say what their genotype is, which is why we have to go in with the big T, because we know there's a dominant we know there's a dominant gene, but we don't know. They could be normal. Oh, we'll go back here. I did it here. We know they did not get the 25% chance of disease because they are not colored in like their siblings, but there's that other 75% chance where they could be a carrier, could be normal. So we have to put that that question mark there. And we have to keep in mind too that these Punnett squares here, they start over for every single pregnancy. So for each kid that we see here from these parents, for all of them, there's the 25% disease, 25% normal, and 25% carrier. And again, no kids, so we cannot 100% for certain say what their genotype is because we can't confidently say. We know it's big T, little t, or big T, but the question mark shows that we're unsure. So now we're gonna move over to this half of the pedigree. So while our patient isn't over here, it's still important to see what the rest of the family has going on. So we'll start with this male up here. We see they had 2 kids, one disease and one we'll figure out. And so since there is a disease here, we know that they both have to have the gene somewhere, and since none of them are colored in, we know that they both must be carriers here. So I'm just gonna draw the line, shade. I'll do a better shading job later, but just like a little rough shade so we can visually see. And we shade. And so we know their genotype has to be big T, little t, and big T, little t. Both carriers here. And so this is where we're going to, we don't know here, toss up, but now we can come down here and look at the kids because this will help us, it'll help us work backwards here. And we see, again, there's a child with cystic fibrosis, so recessive, meaning now while they look normal, they can be carriers. So it's the same thing as over here. Both parents are gonna be carriers here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shade here. And I'm gonna shade here again. And again, since it starts over with every single pregnancy, we cannot for sure say that this circled daughter, we can't for sure say this circled daughter has the gene, doesn't have the gene. We know she's not diseased. So again, we're gonna have to put the big T, and then we're gonna have to put the question mark because I cannot confidently say that it's big T or big T, little t. It could be either. So then when we look out at the entire pedigree, we see that since it is recessive, most family members are in this case carriers, with very few people carrying the actual disease. So this is why it's important to look at the pedigree to see where the disease came from, because in most cases, the parent didn't give the disease. The parents looked normal, but then they would have their kid again, looked normal, and then would have the kid here again and up here. So this is why we use the pedigree, and in this case, in this patient, to show that you guys were both in fact carriers, which is why your son was given cystic fibrosis.